Hey everybody, John Brown here, taking a look at Hearthstone, the card game put out by Blizzard that is currently in closed beta and should soon be going into open beta. If any of you know anything about Blizzard, you know soon could mean one of many different things. But first take a look at the game. Basically, it's similar to some other card games. You have a certain amount of mana. In this game, you don't play cards to get mana. You start with one in the first round, and each round you get one more. There are cards that can affect how much mana you have. Like, for example, the second player gets this card known as the coin that gives you one mana crystal for that turn only. So I can go ahead and play this card. It costs one mana. There's no different colors or types of mana in the game. Has 2 attack, 1 health, and it has a death rattle. So whenever the creature dies, something happens. In this case, it deals 2 damage to the enemy hero. In this game, you're going to have a hero on each side. They all have a special ability. I'm going to go ahead and play a card because there is a 90-second time limit for turns, which is something I really enjoy. A lot of games that have a game limit or something like that, the other player can, slow play you for a very long period of time. Now, that other side, the hero actually used their ability, where their ability is they can spend 2 mana to give themselves a dagger that does 1 damage and basically has 2 hits on it. My ability is I give my character 1 attack, so my hero can go out and attack something. It will take damage if it attacks a minion that will do damage, and then that attack will go away at the end of the round and I get 1 armor. So there are a bunch of different heroes with different abilities. Each hero has certain cards that only they have available to them, and then there are a bunch of regular cards that any hero can use. So I'm going to go ahead and play this guy, and he has a battle cry. A battle cry is something that happens when you play the minion out into the field from your hand. So if it comes out in some other way, or someone takes control of it or something, it doesn't happen. It only happens when you play it from your hand, and he's basically a draw card minion for 2 mana. So now I'm going to click on end my turn, and my opponents go again and take their turn. Now, they have basically a weapon that they gave more power to so they can kill my minion with it. And it only has 1... Oh, they're actually going to hit me with it. So it did 3 damage to me, and then there was only 1 durability on that weapon left. Now, I have an interesting card here. Has a battle cry also for 3 mana. Gives a minion +1/+1. So I get to choose who I give it to, and if I didn't have a minion out, I'd actually have to give it to them, unless it says... it says give friendly. Some cards you might have to give a bonus to your enemy, so you might not want to play it, or maybe you still want to. So I'm going to go ahead and kill their minion and survive. Now, just like in Magic, when a card comes out, it doesn't have the ability to attack the turn it comes out, unless it has, in this game, instead of being called charge, instead of being called haste, it's called charge. So you're basically going to have creatures, you're going to have spells like that. That one puts that minion back into my hand, and then he's going to play something out there. Now it's a 3/2, and I have a 2 damage guy, so I'm probably just going to go ahead and kill his guy. Even if I give my guy a boost, it won't help. And actually I'm going to put out something called Taunt. Now, one of the interesting things about this game is that in Magic, you attack... And I'm going to compare a lot of things to Magic because I've played it quite a bit, and it's one of the most popular card games out there. You attack the enemy hero, and they have a choice to block or not. In this game, you can... Well, not the enemy hero, the planeswalker, whatever, the other player. In this game, you can choose to attack a player or choose to attack a minion. However, if I have something out with Taunt, it basically, if he attacks with one of his creatures or with a weapon or something like that, he has to attack one of the creatures with Taunt. If I have multiple Taunt creatures, they can choose who they want to hit. If they cast a spell, they can cast it on whoever they want. Now, this guy has an interesting battle cry. If I go to him, he can give charge, which is like haste magic, where you can attack the turn he comes out, or get 2 health and taunt. So usually I choose that 2 health and taunt, but I'm going to go ahead and choose charge right here, so I can go ahead and hit the enemy. That may not be the most efficient move, but that's just what I want to show. Okay, now he's going to go ahead and kill my taunt creature and get out a taunt creature of his own. Here's a spell called Swipe, where it basically it says, it does 4 damage to somebody and then 1 damage to all the other creatures they have out. I'm going to go ahead and cast that, kill this guy and do 1 damage to the taunt guy, and then I'm going to use my hero ability. I have 2 mana left, I cast it, I give myself 1 attack for this turn, and 1 permanent armor. Armor is kind of like adding more health to my character, basically. So when I take this damage, it'll take my 1 armor away but not do any damage to me. So I got rid of both of his guys with 1 card, and then can attack for 4 again. Alright, I went ahead and skipped ahead to what will be the last turn of the game here, as I'm going to get out this 8/8 guy for 8 mana. So if you haven't played these cards game before, basically the first number is their attack, the second number is their health. This guy, he can't attack, and at the end of a turn, he will randomly deal 8 damage to an enemy. An enemy character basically is any minion that they have out or the hero that they have out. And since they have no minions out, it's going to do 8 damage to the hero. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit them for all of this damage. And like I said, in general, the computer is pretty easy, and then they will deal their 8 damage to the hero. You start with 30 health, and when you lose all your health, you lose. So just to go over real quick, this game really, it has a pretty friendly feel. It's the artwork and everything is, pretty appealing. The basics are pretty simple. You basically, have your mana or whatever, and right here we can see all the different heroes in the game, a mage, a priest, hunter, so on and so forth. They all have a slightly different ability. For example, a hunter can just do 2 damage to an enemy hero each round. A mage can do 1 damage, but it can be to a minion or a hero. There's lots of different things. And they all have cards that each type can use individually. It's a pretty friendly looking game and pretty friendly to get into and play a game, but one thing I want to comment on is a lot of people are saying, oh, there aren't that many cards available, everybody's figured out the meta, there's certain decks can be good with some slight variations. Just recently people were saying how Warrior stinks, and now all of a sudden people come up with these Warrior decks that are really good. So one of the things I really like about the game is it seems pretty simple. You just gain mana every turn. It's a lot friendlier to get into a lot of games in appearance and in complexity. However, it still seems like there's a lot of depth to the game. Okay, first let's talk about the different ways to play the game. You can practice the game like I was doing against an AI opponent. However, that's not necessarily going to give you goals for the day, the daily missions, which we'll get to in a second. You can play against other opponents. You can play in a casual, unranked mode that isn't necessarily easier. A lot of people are trying out decks that they don't necessarily want to play in ranked, and some of those decks are really good. Seems like I lose more often in casual than in ranked play. And then there's Arena, which we'll also get to in just a moment. First I want to talk about, though, the daily quest. Now, I just did my quest for today, but each day there's going to be different quests available. Maybe win with, they'll give you a choice of 2 different hero classes, win a certain number of games with them, play a certain number of low-cost minions, a certain number of high-cost minions, kill a certain number of minions, all different kinds of quests that are going to give you gold. And gold is what's going to allow you to go and get stuff. So if we go to the shop, you can see there's a bunch of different ways we can get extra cards. We can get 1 pack for 100 gold, and you also get 10 gold for winning 3 games in anything other than practice mode. You can buy packs for prices, and in general, I actually think the prices are a little bit high. So you can see you can start by buying 2 packs for $3. Price goes down a little bit if you buy them in bulk. You only get 5 cards in a pack. You're guaranteed to get at least 1 rare. You can potentially get more rares. There's also epics and legendaries. As far as the business model goes, I think these are a little bit high. However, there are some reasons why I think it actually is pretty fair. First of all, you can get gold through daily quests. Secondly, you can get gold in the arena. Now, how the arena works is you can pay either $2 or use 150 gold. And then when you do so, there's basically this draft format that happens. They'll give you a choice of 3 different heroes randomly. You choose one of those heroes, and then throughout 30 rounds, you'll be shown 3 cards. You pick 1 card to make your 30-card deck. That's how the game works. In general, a deck that you made up has to have 30 cards. You can't have any more than 2 of any one card. And it actually works out pretty well because you don't have to have any mana cards in your deck. I think it's a pretty good number. You start with either 3 cards or 4 cards, depending on if you're the first or second player, and the second player also gets that card that gives you 1 additional mana on some turn whenever you choose to play it. And whenever you go into the arena, though, you don't know which cards you're going to get, but whenever it gives you a choice of 3 cards, it's always going to be cards either of your hero class or cards from the common pool that anybody can use. It does vary sometimes, the quality of cards you get, but that's kind of how a draft works. And one thing that's interesting is you know that you're going to be able to use every card And, you know, each round you have a choice of 3 different cards. Sometimes you get 3 really good ones, 3 really bad ones, but, you know, you then make your deck from that point, and it's a really interesting way of playing. Once you lose 3 times you're out, you can win up to 12 games. The more games you win, the more you can get. You're always going to get a pack, even if you don't win any games. So for spending 150 gold, or $2, you can get this guaranteed pack, which may be a little bit more than just getting a pack. However, you know, the gold is 50 more. If you do really well, you might get enough gold to pay for another arena for free. So it obviously is advantageous to do well at arena, and it makes it really exciting. And even if you lose 3 times, you're going to get maybe, you know, you're going to get a pack and maybe a card or maybe a little bit of dust or something like that. So what is dust? Dust is actually the reason why I think this is a pretty fair way of doing the game. Now, if I go into my collection, I can go into all the different hero types and the cards I have for them. I can also go into the common pool cards, but there's also something else I can go into called crafting mode. What's so neat about crafting mode is that you can get dust from arena prizes. You can get dust by disenchanting cards. For example, if you get any more than 2 of the same card, the game will automatically give you the option of disenchanting any extra cards I have, because having more than 2 of any kind doesn't do you any good. So, in other games where, you know, you can get packs and stuff like that for doing things, this game, if you get extra cards you're never going to use, you can get rid of them to get dust. Now, to get the really good cards, or at least the rarer cards, it's going to cost you a lot of dust. But if there's a card you're particularly looking for, you can save up dust to go ahead and get it. Now, epic and legendary cards are not necessarily great cards. Some of them are. I think I only have 1 legendary, which one nice thing is I do have one of the better legendary cards. Some people would say the best legendary card, the Ragnaros that I showed you in the last game. But I'm pretty sure that's the only one I have. And then they're organized by mana cost, and you can see this one, for example, it costs 1,600 dust, but that is what the legendary cards cost. You can make common cards and things like that for a lot less. Now, of course, you're going to get a lot less, and oh, that's a golden card. Golden cards don't do anything special except for the fact that they look cool and they have cool animations. This card, see, here's a common card, it only costs 40, and it gives me 5 to disenchant. So they vary a lot in what you get, but, you know, if there's common cards you want to get, or even rare cards, I think are 100 to make. They're not that bad. When you get extra cards, you're still getting something for them. And yeah, if we look at a golden card, we can see there's a little bit of animation going on in the background, which is pretty cool. So I think that this idea of whenever you get extra cards you don't want, they can still go towards getting you the cards you want is one of the things that makes this a pretty fair system. Alright, so arenas are really fun and intense, but they're also, and then there's the casual play like I was saying, and then there's also the rank mode. Rank mode, you start out at 25, try to work your way up to 1 and into legendary classes or whatever. When you start out, you get a star for every win. You can get win streaks up to a certain level, or if you win a couple you get more stars. And when you up to level 20, I think you can't lose any stars. So once you get up to 20, or past 20, you can start losing stars. Basically, you win, you get a star, you lose a star. Up to a certain point, you get bonus stars for having winning streaks. So right now, I'm up to rank 10. One of the things about the game, I don't have a ton of cards. I'm playing a lot of decks with, you know, more epic and more legendary cards than I have. But this, I have to say, isn't really a pay-to-win game. There are certain cards that are obviously better than others, and cards that end up being too powerful, they do either nerf or change. It's happened quite a bit in the beta, as you would expect. But, you know, I'm still able to do all right even with what I have. So overall, I think this game is really accessible and yet has a lot of depth. The rank system is pretty neat if you're interested in playing what they would call constructed play, where you make decks. The arena is a lot of fun if drafting is your sort of thing. But I'm just having a ton of fun playing this game. Every day doing my daily quest, collecting gold. I can't do an arena every day, but every couple of days I can go ahead and do one, and that's a lot of fun. I've gone 0-3 quite a few times. I think 7 is the most wins that I have gotten. And when I got to that, I got enough money to do, or enough gold to do another arena, which was pretty cool. So, not the best at it yet, but I'm really enjoying the level of simplicity and yet depth that this game offers. And it should be going to open beta relatively soon, so if you want to go ahead and check it out, I want to post this video, and hopefully some of you might be interested in this and checking it out if you don't already have a beta key when it goes to open beta, hopefully soon.